This is the 7Artisans 24mm f1.8, a full-frame, budget-friendly lens that's available for Lumix L, Sony E, and Nikon Z mounts. At the time of making this video, it retails for just $329, and ever since I get my hands on this lens, it has stayed mounted on my Lumix S1R II most of the time. There's a lot to talk about here, so let's get into it. The 7Artisans 24mm f1.8 has a full metal build. Went in at about 424 grams, and in hand it feels solid with a robust feel. And although most of it is made out of metal construction, the one custom function and AF switch definitely feels a bit on the plasticky side. Starting at the rear of the lens, you've got a metal mount, full electronic contact, and even a USB-C port integrated into the lens body, which is a nice touch for handling firmware updates directly. There's no weather sealing gasket, and as far as I can tell, the lens isn't weather sealed at all. Moving forward, the aperture ring is the first control you notice. It is a declicked ring, which means there are no traditional click stops as you turn it, although there is a subtle tactical click when switching between the auto mode and f16 and vice versa. The resistance on the ring is smooth and consistent, giving just the right amount of feedback without feeling too loose or too stiff. The focus ring, on the other hand, is a bit stiff and could use a better grip, but it's smooth when you try to manually pull focus. Up front, there's a slightly convex front element, meaning it's slightly curved outwards, a 62mm filter thread, and the minimum focus distance is marked at 32 centimeters, which is not what I was expecting. The lens hood is very solid, and it wouldn't come off loose. It's a bit difficult to take off, but it's okay. I think I like it that way. I'll just put it back on. Inside this lens are 14 elements in 11 groups, an 11 bladed diaphragm, and autofocus powered by some kind of stepper motor. And when mounted on my Lumix or Pixie 6a camera, which is behind me, it produces clean looking images. It's a clean looking lens with a very simple design, decent controls, although the button and switch could definitely be better. Now let's talk about performance. Here are some sample footage straight from my Lumix S1R II and Pixie 6a using this lens. I've not applied any lens correction or sharpening in post, only just exposure, contrast, those basic things. So now here's the thing, this lens has a bunch of optical flaws, but looking at the sample videos, you probably may not notice them unless you're specifically looking for issues. Sharpness from this lens is in the center of the frame, wide open at f1.8 is excellent. Colors and contrast are great, but not so much at the corners. There's also a tiny bit of vignetting towards the corners of the frame, and it becomes more visible as you close up the aperture. I used this lens at a recent personal production to frame up a couple, and I was very satisfied with what I got. I also used it in the same production to get a reaction portrait shot, and the one thing I like is how wide but not too wide the lens is, coupled with its very lightweight design. Filming handle was a breeze, as well as the ability to frame allowed me to get close enough to my subject, no problems at all. The production also required me to shoot the reactors running down a flight of stairs, walking into a building, and also using an elevator. I only needed to take off the lens in the elevator scene as it wasn't wide enough for the shot I wanted to capture. I ended up using the 7Artisans 60mm t2.5 Infinity series lens. I will leave a link so you can watch my review of the Infinity series lens from 7Artisans, a solid budget cinema lens you should seriously consider. Just for fun, I pitched the 7Artisans 24mm f1.8 against the Lumix 24mm f1.8, which I don't have here, which is about double the price of the 7Artisans equivalent focal length. And although the Lumix version edged it was just a little bit. And for prices, the Lumix version is about $797, while the 7Artisans is $329. One other thing I forgot to compare between those two lenses was the pincushion distortion. And if one or the other was darker, but all in all, I think the 7Artisans held its own. So what I'm going to show you guys is what difference this makes to this frame. I'm currently filming this or recording this on the Sigma 35mm f1.4, and I'm going to switch to the 7Artisans 24mm f1.8. So remember f1.4, then I'll switch to f1.8 so you can see how wide the frame is going to be. So this is the difference this lens makes to this frame or to this shot. You can see my Sennheiser MKH416 is just above from frame. You can see the lighting, how my setup is wider, and what I can do is scoot a little bit closer to the lens and see if I can frame properly. I'll leave the mic where it is, and this is me close to the lens. I like how close enough I am to the lens, and that's like my hands in front, almost touching the lens, and I'll push it out. And I think it's nice because I can, if I'm talking about stuff, I can like lean in, you know, preview stuff in front of you guys or in front of my audience and pull out. I think I like this. I like that I'm very close to the lens, as if I'm, you know, I like the frame. I'll probably just switch to filming with this lens. I've been contemplating that and I think I like this. I had taken this lens countryside to meet up with Ken from Pro Gear News, and we filmed a bit of content in and around the bushes. Pairing with my Lumix S1R II was just a joy. Ken is currently using a frame from what I shot of him as a display picture, so you can go check Ken's socials. I'll link it down in the description. Bokeh is smooth and clean. The balls are round with no weird outline or onion rings, and subject separation is wide open, which is excellent in my opinion. Close focusing on this lens isn't that great since it's just about 32cm, which was not what I was expecting. One would be expecting to be at least 24mm, around that range, but that is what we have with this lens. And even at that distance, images can look a little bit hazy when wide open, so I wouldn't recommend using it for close-up work. This is how it looks for vlogging and using IBIS and the cropless stabilization mode on Lumix S1R II. Normally for vlogging, you would want to use a much wider lens like a 16 or 20mm, which is wide enough to accommodate the crop from the extra digital stabilization. This is me pretending to vlog with stabilization turned off. Around 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And now with stabilization turned on, set as standard mode. So now select arm's length, E stabilization set to standard mode. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Turn around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And now boost stabilization applied. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Turn around. Again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All in all, I think it's capable of being used for vlogging with stabilization applied in camera. I wouldn't recommend a tighter focal length than the 24mm. Now to autofocusing on this lens, I can say this lens is very quiet. I did some further autofocus tests indoors using my 7Artisans Infinity Series lens as test subjects. I tried AFS in photo mode and the lens was quick in focusing on the lens closer to it as well as the ones further away. I then switched to AFC mode for video and performed some more autofocusing tests. One thing I did in this particular indoor test was not to use my HDMI recorder, as I have now noticed that autofocus slows down on Lumix cameras when you connect an audio or a HDMI recorder. Also, the touch to focus function worked properly with very minimal or no noticeable focus breathing, which is a great plus for this lens. I am genuinely impressed by this lens, and this is coming from someone who has been a Sigma lens user for a very long time. If you've been watching the videos on this channel, this is the first 7Artisans autofocus lens I've had. I've also been shooting on the 7Artisans Infinity Series lenses, the 16, 35 and 85 cine lenses, so this is a new addition that I am very happy to add to my kit as my first 24mm prime lens. Full frame at that. This is a very budget lens. But just to be clear here, it has its own flaws. It seemed to be just a tad bit warmer, which I earlier mentioned, soft at the edges, no weather sealing, and a bit of vignetting. But if you can live with those trade-offs, you're getting a very capable 24mm lens with autofocus, great center sharpness, solid build, and even some features like a USB-C port and focus hold, all for $300. I think it's the perfect lens between too wide and medium, great for two-person framed up interviews, the narrates for vlogging style videos. So let me know what you think about this lens below. Is this lens a hit or miss for you? Thanks for watching. I'll catch you in the next one. It's your Filmmaker. Peace.